By the way, what a incredibly shameful display from that bishop this morning in Washington, D.C. It represents the insanity of yesterday. But what an exciting new project we may hear about in this hour. An AI project named Stargate. This yin and yang, this balance, is a balance that has to be struck by President Trump. Quite honestly, for us here at the Will Cain Show, for all of us in America, it's the balance between holding accountability for what happened yesterday while holding to the promise and hope of what can be tomorrow. So as with this new dawning, this new golden age of America, in this busy 24 hours, here are the three things that have stood out to me about the first day of Donald Trump's presidency. First, while we were all watching the dawn of the golden age, Joe Biden was slinking away into the dark. He was pardoning members of his own family, his brother Jim. He was pardoning General Mark Milley. He was pardoning Dr. Anthony Fauci, which leads to an obvious question. Pardoned? Pardoned for what? The implication of guilt is enough to even surprise Donald Trump. Watch.
You know, I didn't know that he gave a pardon to his family because he did it during my speech.
He didn't tell you in the limo?
No, he didn't tell me. No. He did it. They released it during my speech. I mean, during my speech. So all I could do was say, excuse me, I'd like to come back and speak some more. So, no, we were surprised by that. It's bad precedent, obviously.
That, of course, was Donald Trump in a 60-minute freewheeling executive order signing Q&A. Now, it's not just the implication of guilt that stands out about these pardons. It's the hypocrisy. It's an obvious point, but a point that needs to be made. 4 years ago, Democrats hyperventilated about the possibility that Donald Trump may preemptively pardon members of his own family. But like with so many sins, they project their own onto their opponent. Here we are 4 years later, and Joe Biden has done exactly what they all choked on 4 years ago. He's swallowed this level of hypocrisy. But again, that's not the most important takeaway. Neither is Joe Biden breaking the norms of the presidency, something he promised to take us back to, a return to normalcy. Now, my biggest takeaway on the pardons right now is that somehow Joe Biden has managed to take away the right against self-incrimination for Dr. Anthony Fauci, for Mark Milley, for Jim Biden. No longer can they appear before Congress and invoke the Fifth Amendment. As such, they should be appearing before Congress as we pursue the truth and justice. Speaking of justice, number two, Donald Trump pardoned over 1,500 January 6th defendants and prisoners last night. Now, it should be noted that of these 1,500 prisoners, over 1,000 of them were charged by the federal government and the DOJ with simple misdemeanors, parading around, disorderly conduct. These are not the kind of charges usually brought by the Department of Justice. But this was an attempt to cook the books within the DOJ and the FBI, to suggest that domestic terrorism was on the rise, and to make a case that January 6th was not unlike 9/11. But real people had their lives ruined. Real people sat and rotted in jail. And Donald Trump today, for those real people, brought justice. Then we look to tomorrow. Donald Trump has promised a golden age, a revolution of common sense. I believe that for over a century we lived in a false dichotomy. We lived in the age of political ideology between left and right, Republican and Democrat. Yes, Donald Trump is a Republican. And yes, he is conservative. But he's practical. He is transactional. And so the policies pursued in the first 24 hours reflect the will of the people. Look at this poll on immigration, energy, and inflation. Donald Trump reflects what you and I and the majority of Americans want to see from our government. That's empowering. That tells you you're not alone. That tells you this represents real hope and change for America.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.